So I'm going to create a new folder on my desktop. I'm going to call the folder script, and then I'm going to open the folder I've created in my VS. So I've opened the folder in my VS. JavaScript is a scripting language. The use of JavaScript is to allow our applications to be uh, interactive. So JavaScript provides us with interactivity and enables us to develop applications which are interactive. So in my folder that I have created, I'm going to create an index file. And then I'm going to create a main.js. I'm going to create a styles.css. Now in here, I'm going to go to my index.html page. And in there, I'm going to type the following code. I'm going to type HTML:5. Now present me with the basic structure of the HTML page. Now in here, I'm going to, at the top, attach my CSS code by using link rel style sheet. Then I'll say the source of the style sheet is style .css. Then I'll close it. And then in the body, I'm going to attach my JavaScript file. So here I have script. And in here I have src equal to main.js. And I have attached my JavaScript file. So here I'm presented with me having my CSS code here and my main.javascript files here. When I open this, in here, I'll just do slash and say I am in the JavaScript. And then over here, in the CSS, I'll open that one to make a comment in the CSS. And then in here, I'll say I am in the CSS. Okay. So just to make sure that they are correctly connected, when I press Control and I click over here, you can see that it sends me to the CSS file. When I press Control and press here, it sends me to the main.js file. I can use that to make sure that the connections that I have connected to my document are correct, meaning like I have correct document connection with my code. Now, the first thing in which we are going to do is we are going to create a variable in JavaScript. A variable is a space in memory that is used to hold certain pieces of information. In JavaScript, for me to tell the computer I am utilizing a variable, I would use the let keyword. So the let keyword or the const keyword or the var keyword allows me to tell the computer that, for example, let number is a variable, let const pi is a variable, and let var str is also a variable. So if I want to create a variable inside my, my code, I have to use either the word let, const, or var. I would use let when there is no scope involved. So I would use var when it is global. The variable is global. That is, it can work in different environments. If I have a function, it can work within the function, out of the function, or out of the environment I've specified. Then I would use var. I would use let if it is not global and it is works within a particular scope. I'll also use const when it works within this particular scope. You can see that when I wrote the const, it has underlined. When I put my cursor there, it tells me const declarations must be initiated. And this is very important because what I've written there is I've told the computer I am using a constant. I am using a variable which is a constant. Since it is a constant, it means that the information that I have over there is not going to change. So here, I can't tell the computer I'm creating a constant which has nothing. So I have to make it equal to, let's say, 3.142. And now that line goes away. So if I want to create a variable which will have a value that will never change, then I would use a constant. That is const. If I'm creating a variable in which the data will be changing, then I would use let. But if I'm creating a variable that would work in different environments or in different bodies, then I would use var so that it would be what? Global. So in this example here, I can tell the computer, let number one be equal to 3. So let number one be equal to 3. I can say let number 2 be equal to 4. And I can also say that let sum be equal to number 1 plus number 2. So in this code, I'll have to run it. So I'll go to my index page. I'll right click and open the folder that has my work. So I can easily just go here, go and look for the script and double click, or I can use live server, the one I find on the. And in here, I can see that I have an empty environment. And I have an empty environment because I have not told the browser that it should display anything. This is just a link that I'm connecting to this page. In here, I've told the computer to put something in number 1, put something in number 2, add them together and put it in sum. I didn't tell it to display anything. So there is nothing being displayed. And I can see that from my browser here, showing me I have a white page with nothing over there. If I right click and I go to view source, I can see that in my source, I have nothing there. So the computer is doing its job. Now, if I want to display some piece of information, the question comes in as to where do I want to save or showcase that piece of information? I have 3 options. I can first of all show it in the console. When I right click and click on inspect, I am provided with a side menu here, whereby one of the buttons here is the console button. So I can display my information over here in console. Let's see how we do that. So when I come in here, I'll just, in my main.js, I'll tell the computer, go to console, and then log onto console, we have sub. So it means that now, when I come over to my browser and I refresh my screen, there is nothing on the main browser. But when I go to console, I'll see 7 over there. And we can see that what initiated this 7 is on line 6, which is console.log, which is boldly written over here. So this is how, or this is the first way I can display information. And that is by me using console.log. If I don't want that, I don't want the user to display using console.log because sometimes in our code, we use the console so that we can display to ourselves. The normal user will never go and right click and go to inspect to go and inspect anything. So if I want to display it so that the user would see in his browser, I also have the option of displaying the thing using an alert. So here I have alert, and then in here I'll put in sub. So once I go back to my browser again and I refresh, I would see a pop-up popping up here, and I will see the 7 over here. And this is what we call an alert. An alert is a pop-up that will appear on your screen, and this pop-up that appears on your screen allows you to have a view of the application that we are running or the display you want to display. So whenever you are online and these things pop up, now you know what they are. They are alerts. So when I press OK here, the alert goes away. I can also display in the browser itself by manipulating the HTML. And it is here that a word in JavaScript comes into being. And that word is the JavaScript DOM. The JavaScript DOM allows you to invoke the various HTML tags that we have. So how will I do this? I would first of all need to have a tag I am targeting. So for example, I can come in here, I can click here, and in here I'll use a H1 tag, and I'll close the H1 tag. In here again, I would add an ID to the H1 tag so that in here, I could type in, let's say, the word show. So here, I want to showcase the word show. Now, let's listen to this code importantly. The structure of this code is very important. The first thing I have to do is tell the computer that I want to invoke this page. I want to invoke all the elements on this page. What are the elements? When I put my cursor here, it tells me the body element. When I put my cursor here, it tells me the H1 element. That means each of the tags over here is an element. So when I go to my JavaScript code, I'm going to tell the computer, go to my document. So this is me invoking this entire page over here. So all the code over here has been called upon, I've invoked it. And I'm going to tell the computer that it should go and get me an element using the element's ID. So it means that the computer will come to this page and look for all the elements here that has an ID. Now, over here again, I'm going to tell the computer in a bracket that get me the element that has the ID called what? Show. Remember, here it is in double quotes because it's a string. So you are looking over here for the element that has the ID called what? Show. Now, when you find the ID called show, what will be brought back? What will be brought back will be what? The H1. So over here, all the code I've written here is for me to go into the page I'm on to go and select the word H1. So it means over here in this entire code, I have the H1. Now I'm going to tell the computer, when you find the H1, go and look for its inner HTML. So HTML, look for its inner HTML. And when you find its inner HTML, go and put over there the sum in which I have done. Now, when I come back to my code over here, and then I open my browser and I refresh, I would see 7 written over here because I have told the computer, go and look for this piece of code here. In the middle, this is the HTML tag. This is also a HTML tag. So the inner HTML is the information you write between the tags over here. And when in that spot, go and put the word, the sum. Are there any questions so far? Now, for example, over here, I can do the following. I can tell the computer style, color, red. Hey, let's say blue. And in here, I'll write the answer will appear here. Now, over here, let me comment this house because if I don't, I'll only see 7 over there. So when I go to my screen, I'm going to see the answer will appear here in what? In blue. Now, I want it so that when someone clicks on a particular button, so here I have a button, and I'm going to say the type of button is going to be button. And then over here, I'll write click me. So when someone comes to my screen, you will see this. And when he clicks on the button, then the answer will appear over here. So now, there are some certain things we would have to do to achieve this. First of all, when we click the button, a set of code must be run. A set of instructions must be given for the computer to follow those sets of instructions to achieve the aim in which we are looking for. The set of instructions which must be done so that the aims we are looking for must be achieved is what in programming we call a function. So how do I write a function in JavaScript? I write a function by, first of all, writing the keyword function. Then I need to have the name of the function. In our case, it is show answer. Now, in here, I'm going to put the set of things which should happen for the answer to be shown. So over here, I've put this code here so that we would have number 1, have number 2, add them together, and then we can show the result. Now, I want it so that I'm going to let display be equal to this. And in doing so, it means that now display is my H1. So I've gone for my H1. Now I'm going to tell the computer, wherever display is, look for its inner HTML and put there what? Sun. Where display is, look for its, where display is, look for its style property. And when you find a style property, go and look for the color property and then change the color of it to what? Red. Now, let me change the color to red before I display it so that it makes more sense that way. Now, let's come back to our browser. Let's refresh. So when someone starts the application, he sees, let's change this English we have over here. Answer will appear here. And let's write, the answer will appear here. And let's come back in here. Let's refresh. And when I click me, I expect that the answer here would what? Change. Now I pressed click me. Nothing happened. Why did nothing happen? Because over here, we haven't told the computer that when you click on click me, go and do the code that we have under show answer. So I have to now go and click here and then tell the computer that on the click of this activity, go and look for show answer. So it means that every time I click, it will go and look for show answer and show the answer over here. I'll click here in my browser. I'll refresh. And now, when I click this, you can see the answer is appearing here as what? 7. And then I have changed the color from blue to red. We can expand on this further. Over here, I can create an input tag and I'll say the type of input I want is going to be a number, and then its ID is going to be num1, or its ID is going to be n1. And in here, I'll have a placeholder that will say enter number 1. So that outside here, I can bring my slash and listen. I will do the same thing again so that I would have number 2. So here I'll have what? 2. And then here 2 would be what? 2. So now on my screen, I should have enter number 1, enter number 2, and then a button to click on. So now when someone enters something here and something here, and I click this button, I'm supposed to get the answer of what you have typed here and what you have typed here. So when I click the button, certain things must happen. The first thing which must happen is that I must go for what the person has typed. So in here, I'll tell the computer to go to the document. When you go to the document, you should get an element using the ID. And the element he's looking for is called what? N1. And when it finds N1, it should look for the value property. Also, when it finds N2, we should look for the value property. Now, what that means is what you have typed, in this case, the 23, it is the value property. So first of all, we will find the element. Again, this piece of code here means that the computer will go to your document, look for all the IDs and locate the ID with N1 and bring back the element that it finds. In this case, the element that it finds is called input. So over here, technically, it has found what? Input. So I'm telling the computer the input, look for its value property. The same way over here, I said the H1, look for its style property and then give it color. So that over here, you can see that I have style, color, blue. That is the same thing I have done, but I have used a JavaScript to do that. So at this stage, our program has been able to go and get the input of number one, go and get the input of number two as N2, and then now it can add them together. Let's see if it is true. So when I come to the browser again, I refresh, I type 23 here and 23 here, and I click here. It is telling me that my answer is 23, 23, which is not true. Why is that happening? Because JavaScript does not have any data type. With JavaScript, there's nothing like data type. So the value of the thing that is being assigned to the variable, in this case, document.getElement by ID number one, is being assigned to number one. So at that point, whatever the data type is, that is the data type of the variable. In this case, the code over here is a string. The code over here is a string. So technically, I'm telling the computer, add two strings together. But now I have to tell the computer that, hey, this thing in which you have over here, treat it as if it is a what? A number. It is not a string. So the behavior of it should be a number. And here too, I'll tell the computer the behavior of it should be a what? A number. Once I do that, it means that now, if I come to my browser and I refresh this, and I type 23 here and 23 here, to tell me my answer is what? 46. Now in here, where I have the display being done, that is here, I'll put double quotes over here and tell the computer the result is, I'll bring a semicolon here and I'll bring a plus here so that I can combine this statement to whatever that is inside sum. Remember, this is a variable. So I'm not telling the computer to display sum. I'm telling the computer to display the content of sum. So when I come back here and I refresh my page again, in here, I can say 23 and then 23 and I click here, it tells me the result is what? This. JavaScript is a programming language for interactivity. In this short time, we have learned how to display in either console or alert. We have learned how to display inside our HTML page, and then we have learned how to manipulate the data there, even with the color. Are there any questions so far? If there are no questions, then let's look at some more examples of JavaScript being implemented. So in here, I'm going to clean the coding which I just did, or better still, let me do this. Let me come to script. Let me come to my desktop, right-click script, compress to zip, and then Since I have zipped it, I'll send it to you guys on your class platform. So now I can clean the info over here. And I can clean the info over here. And now I can start writing an application fresh. So what I want to do is simple. I want to create a shape, a square, simply. So in here, I'm going to type the following code. I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to tell the computer that the div is going to have a class name called container. And then in here, I'm going to say div class shape. And here I'm going to say ID shape one. And then I'm going to end it over here. Now I'm going to copy all the code I have here and paste it 3 times. And then in here, I'll change this one to 2, this one to 3. Because remember, the class can be for multiple users. All of you here are semester 3 students, but each of you has your own unique what? ID. So each ID is very, very what? Different. Now, with that in mind, I am going to now look at what I have in my browser. When I go to my browser, I refresh my browser, I have nothing there. Because remember, they are divs. Divs are invisible unless you give it its shape and its color and so on and so forth. We have not given it its shape, we have not given it its color. So obviously, the div is not going to have any shape or color. So now I have to give the div its shape and color. So in doing that, I'll go to the CSS, since the CSS will show all the information I require on design. And I'm going to tell the computer dot container, it has a display flex. All the items in container must be aligned to the center. All the items in container must have justified content of center, and all the items in container must have a margin from the top of 50 pixels. I'm going to say the following again too. I'm going to tell the computer that in dot container, you will find dot shape. Now, I want you to give the shape of the triangle, the shape of the square, a width of 200 pixels, and then a height of 200 pixels. So my width is going to be 200, and my height is also going to be what? 200. Perfect. I'm going to have a background color.
Usually pass Madina.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a background color of aqua. And then I'm going to have a margin of 10 pixels all around each aqua. What will this do? When I come in here and I refresh my screen, I should see I have 1, 2, 3 squares, 200 pixel by 200 pixel by 200 what? Pixel. In here again, I'm going to tell my computer that I want the font size of anything in it to be 80 pixels. I want the color of all the fonts should be black. I want the font weight, that is the boldness of the thing, to be 300. I want the padding of the thing to be 20 pixels all around. I want the cursor to appear as a pointer. I want all my items to be aligned in the center. I want all my items to be aligned in the center again on the horizontal axis. That is why I would say that this one is for vertical, this one is for what? Horizontal. So justify content what? Center. And then I want all the text I would use to be aligned in the what? Center. So when I come to my diagram again, I will have this. Then when I come in here, in my HTML, I'll put 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, so that when I come to my diagram again, I'll see 1, 2, 3. The items appearing there. So they are in the center. Now, over here, I'll come back in here and I will remove this background color thing from here. When I do that, I remove the background color. When I come to my screen, obviously, I'll have nothing showing because I've removed the color that made the things what? Show. But how will I bring the colors back? I'll tell the computer that when you go into dot container, go and look for hashtag shape1. Because remember, the shape1 is a what? ID. IDs are hash, classes are dot. So here I said, go and look for hashtag this. And then I want the background color to be crimson red. I want the color for shape2 to be aqua. And I want the color for shape3 to be aqua marine. So when I come in here and I refresh my screen, I'll see I have this, that, and then that. Here it didn't come. So let's see why it didn't come. I said this should be 2, but it should be what? 3. So now I'll have this, that, and that as my color. You see, practice makes you perfect. A lot of the time when we learn programming, we learn it for if it is this, then I'll do this. If it is this, then I'll, like we fix ourselves in a particular box. That's not the purpose of programming. In English, all of you here can write beautiful essays of myself or my job or for a project or things like that. No one taught you that in class 1. You must be able to put the tools together to create what you want. In here, I want it so that when I put the cursor on each one, the color of it will what? Change. So I'll copy all of these three things here. And then over here, I'll tell the computer when I hover on it, don't give me crimson red, but give me a deeper shade of red. Again, when I hover on number 2, don't give me aquamarine, but give me a deeper shade of the blue. And this one too, I want you to give me a deeper shade of the green. So that when I am here and I put my cursor on this, we can see how the colors get deeper. And we can see that it gives the effect and lets the person know that, oh, you are here, you are here, you are there. The hover effect is working. With that in mind, now I want to write the code in such a way that when the person clicks on any of them, I know which the person knows which one they clicked on. So in here, I'm going to put the following code at the top of my container. So in here, I'm going to say div display or class display. Let me make it an ID. ID is equal to display info. So anything I want to display will appear over here in ID displayed info. So in here, I'm going to tell the computer function. Remember, if I want to create a function with JavaScript, I type the word function. And in here, I'll say button choice. And in here, I'll put in value. So the first button, the first function we didn't have a parameter. In this case, we have a parameter called value. That is, I am bringing external information into my code. This external information is given so that I can, in this section here, say the following code. Document dot get element by ID. And then in here, I'm going to say the element in which we are going to get is display info. And I want its inner what? HTML. And I want you to put over there that you click on, and then over here, I'll put the plus and say you click on the value. That means that whenever the person clicks on something, would show this message you clicked on and put whatever button he has clicked on over here or whatever square in our case. In here, I'm going to tell the computer on the click of this, go and look for BTN choice. But BTN choice, don't just look for it, go and look for it and put 1 over here. Again, for the second one, go and look for it, but in the parameters, it's going to be what? 2. Over here, the parameter is going to be what? 3. In doing so, now, when I refresh this, and I click on any of these things here, I should be getting them showing up for me. They are not showing up for me. So let's see what error we have, what mistake we have made. So quick check over here, BTN choice 1, BTN choice 2, 3, they work, they are fine here. I come into the main.cs, they work, they are fine. Now, when I come back here, I can see that my JavaScript code is not connected to my HTML code. When I deleted it, I deleted that piece of line too. That means at the bottom of our code, I'm going to type the script tag again. I'm going to say src, and I'm going to type main.what.js and bring this to close it. So that now my code is attached. If I refresh and I click here, it tells me I clicked on one, I clicked on number two, I clicked on number what? Three. So that this message here comes in the middle over here. I can bring the code so that in here, I will type the following hashtag display hashtag display info. And then here I'll bring a comma here. In here I'll say font size should be 40 pixels. It should align items in the center. It should align, it should justify content in the center. And also it should align the text in the center. Now, in doing so, means that now when you are here and you click here, you say you clicked on to make the application fresh when you start. I'm going to put in you clicked on here and bring a question mark so that when you start the application fresh, you see you clicked on. Then here, when I click, it told me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And whatever I click on, it could tell me which one I want clicked on. JavaScript is used for interactivity. JavaScript is a programming language which is built on events. So on click, on change, on move, on this, on that. Based on what the user has picked, that is what we will do. Is there any question? If there's no question, then let's continue. We are going to write an application Now we'll do this. That will display the time or the current time that we are in. So let us begin. In every code we write, we would start with the uh, the HTML code. So we would start by describing how the structure of our application is going to be like. How will our application operate? I'm going to achieve that by first starting from the index page. In here, I will remove the things I did. I'll remove the main code, and I'll remove the CSS code too. Let us begin. So in beginning, over here, I'm going to bring a div and I'm going to give it a class name called container. In it, I'm going to give a span called ID. A span is a linear container. It's like a div, but the span works just on one line, whilst a div works on multiple lines. So I'm going to create a span that is going to hold my hours. I have another span that is going to hold the semicolon thing. I have another span that is going to hold my minutes. So here I have minutes. And then in here, I'll put my 00. I have another span here, which is going to hold my seconds. So here I'll put in 00 again. And then finally over here, I'm going to have another one, which is ID being equal to session. And in here, I'm going to have my AM. So now when I come to my browser, let's close this. Let me click here, come here. Or I can just do this, that's fine. I have this piece of code here. So you can see I have 000000, and then the minutes. Of course, this is nowhere near close to what we have done, but this is the structure of our work. So this is how our HTML page will be like. Now, we must move to our design. So how will our work look like with regards to the CSS? Is that okay? How our work look like with regards to the CSS? So in the CSS, I will begin. I'll first tackle the container because it contains all my work. So I'm going to target container. And then targeting container, I'll target the font family, which is Arial, and that. I'll target its padding, which is going to be 30 pixels. I'll target the color. One second. I'll target the color, which is going to be white. I'll target the font weight and make it bold. I'll target the positioning, make it absolute. I'll target the top and make it 50% of the screen, whilst the right side should also cover 50% of the screen, making sure my thing is in the middle. Whatever screen you have, the top side should have 50% gap, right side 50% gap. I'll use transform to translate my application on the uh, XY axis and make it 80% on X, and then on the Y should be negative 50%. And then I'll have my font size being 150 pixels. And then I have all white spaces being no wrap. Also, I'll tell the computer that I want my body to be margin 0. I want padding for my body to be 0. And I want my background to have a color of black. With this in mind, it means now my application will look like this. See, there's something wrong here. Let's see. This, that. My container is spelled wrong. So here, I have to spell it correct. I spelled it contain. Let's see, checking the spelling like that. So now I have my writing showing for me. So everything here is showing. Now I'll go to the JavaScript. Remember, everything should be in a function. So I'm going to create a function called display time. I'm going to let date time be equal to a new date. Now, this piece of code over here is very important. It invokes the date of your computer. So whatever date and time and features you have on date on your computer, it will invoke it. Once I invoke that date and time, I'm going to tell the computer to let hours be equal to the current hours. I'm going to let the minutes equal to your computer's current minutes. I'm going to let the seconds be equal to your computer's current seconds. Now, I'm going to let session, that is either it is AM or PM, be equal to document. So I'm invoking the page dot get element with the ID called what? Session. This piece of code here is going to go into here, look for the ID called session, and bring back this file so that I can manipulate. Now, what do I want to do? If the hours is greater than 12, then it means that the session, its inner HTML should be PM. Other than that, it means that the time is what? AM. So if I come back to my browser, I haven't invoked it, but this place here, if I check and your time is above 12, then here will be PM. If it is below 12, then here will remain at what? AM. In here, I have if hours is greater than 12, hours is equal to hours minus 12. So if I want to, this hours here would be in the army time. So 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 o'clock. So if the time is, let's say, 13 o'clock, how do I know that 13 o'clock is 1 o'clock? I will have to subtract the 13 by 12, and whatever I get, that is the o'clock. So 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So here I'm saying that go and pick the hours, which will be given to you in the army time. If it is bigger than 12, then enter here and subtract it by 12. So if, for example, if it is 1 o'clock, then it is 13. 13 minus 12 would give you 1. Hence, the hours in which you would write is 1, instead of writing what? 13. With that in mind, I'm going to say document dot get element by ID into bracket hours dot inner HTML is equal to what? The hours we have created. Again, get element by ID minutes is equal to what? The minutes that we have over here that we picked. Another get element by ID, and here we are putting the seconds is equal to the seconds we have over here. Now, with this in mind, now I have been able to get the time on your computer, check if you are AM or PM, change army time into normal time, and then push all the values into the various sections I have over here, their inner HTML. So now I just have to tell the computer to run that code. So I'll tell the computer where you have display time, run it. So now it has been invoked. I've called upon it to run. I don't have to click anything. So in this case, I'm telling the computer when the application starts, run it. So when I come back to the date and time here, I'll see that the time is 12:47, and then it is 9 what? Seconds. So it's running. The problem is the time is not changing all the time. How do I get it so that the time will change all the time? And here is where the tricks of programming come into play. I'm going to tell the computer to set an interval. And the interval, I'm setting it for every 10 nanoseconds. So every 10 nanoseconds, I want you to change. And every 10 nanoseconds, I want you to go and run the code I have over here. So every 10 nanoseconds, this code here will be run. Remember, the code here will take your current date and time on your computer and display it. So if I do it every 10 seconds, it means every 10 seconds, I'm just displaying your current date and what? Time. So when we come over here, now refresh, I'll see that the current date and time of the individual would be appearing over here. Every what? 10 nanoseconds. So every 10 nanoseconds, I'll call on the function. The function will be triggered. So technically, I'm just showing you the time every 10 nanoseconds. And with that, it means that every single 10 nanoseconds to you, you think the time and the clock is ticking, but it is not. I'm just showing you the same thing every 10 nanoseconds. And each time, the time has changed. So you will think that the time is changing, but it is not. To improve this program, you can write it in such a way that here, instead of showing 9, it will show 0, 9, so that it will always be even. You can see that whenever it gets to 9, it doesn't look even. So you want it always to be even. So 0, 9, 0, 1, 0, 2. You can update it to look like that. But that is for you to do. Today, our job was to learn JavaScript. What is JavaScript? JavaScript is a way we can make our application interactive. Interactivity does not mean we are bringing data from a server or a database. It means that on your screen, how can you make it interactive? How can you make things move? How can you make things talk to each other? How can you make things appear like they are changing when they are actually not changing? And JavaScript is a programming language that allows us to do that. In JavaScript, everything is controlled by actions. Hence, we will need to have a trigger on click, on change, on something. And then we will write it in a function so that whenever we call on the function, the code will be executed. And in the latter stages of our class, you can see that I combine the HTML and the CSS. For example, this code here, the background in which we have for our application, I can go and tell the computer that the background should be a gradient. So now when I come in here, I have my work showing as a gradient. Give it some more spice. It is the small things that you manipulate to create the big things. And as much as it would be easy for you to say this is writing or this is reading, so you can just read. With coding, if you are not practicing, no matter how genius you are not known. You must spend time and practice. You must find time during the day what is just you and the computer. And then you practice and then you try making it your own and making changes. And then that realization will make you perfect. There is no trick. There is no circumventing. Thank you all for coming. As always, I'll make the video available to you. We'll meet again next week if there are no questions.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Bluetooth mode.